Shalom friends, I'm happy to be making another video, finally. Today I'm going to give you another birth story. This is baby number 7, Samuel. So the experience that I've had with Sam, with labor and delivery in the hospital, it really had a big impact on me. It was different from my other experiences, and I learned a lot. My pregnancy, well, actually when we found out that I was pregnant, we were surprised, first of all. We thought that we would have 7 children. Even though we were letting God pick, we thought that that was the number that God was going to give us. And we also thought that we would adopt one when we were done having children. So we thought, well, we must be having 6 kids and then adopt number 7. So we really were surprised to find out that I was expecting. And I think we had to work through our feelings about it, because we are very aware of the responsibility that comes with raising children and the work that it is. And I think that we were ready, Aaron and I, to just be done having little ones, so life would be less complicated. Life would be easier. But that wasn't God's plan. And so we want to embrace God's plan for us. So, we did very quickly. We were looking forward to having this new little baby, but it was just a surprise. It was unexpected, and we had to work through that a bit. So my pregnancy went smoothly, which is usually the case for most of my pregnancies. No complaints. I just don't even really feel pregnant. I just get tired at night. So that's a blessing that my pregnancies really are pretty smooth for the most part. When I was a week and a half before my due date, my water broke, and that was completely unexpected. My water in the past would only break like right before delivery. So yeah, that was completely different. And also, I've never had a baby that was early. So a week and a half early was a big deal for me. I felt like I wasn't ready for labor and delivery at that point, because I usually, not planning in any kind of way, but I end up taking like time just to prepare my heart and my spirit for going through labor and delivery, and I didn't do that yet. So I wasn't out and about, thankfully, when my water broke. I was just laying in bed, and it was early in the morning, and Aaron was in the bathroom, so I was in bed all alone, and I got a really bad leg cramp, and so I couldn't think about anything other than this leg cramp. And usually Aaron is right next to me in bed when I get the leg cramps, which happen, when I'm pregnant, if I stretch out too quickly, and he'll rub out the cramp. But he wasn't there. He was in the bathroom, so I was just trying to work out the cramp. And when that was through, I realized that I was all wet. And I thought to myself, like, why am I wet? And I didn't pee myself. So I smelled it, and it just didn't smell like anything. And I knew for sure that my water had broken. And I told Aaron, and we prayed about it, just, about the timing, and that God's timing is perfect, even if it's not our timing. And so that was really good for me to just kind of take a deep breath and know that I can trust God and not be upset that that this baby is coming sooner than I planned. Not that you can really plan when they're gonna come. So that was the beginning of my labor, and I tried to this was the first time I'm dealing with my water breaking so far in advance, so I tried to put a pad to soak up the fluid, but I realized that that's not going to work out because there really is a lot of fluid that comes out of the body, and it wasn't all at one time, so I couldn't just sit in the bathroom all day. So what I had to do was I just put a towel between my legs, and then I just sat in the living room like that so that I'm not leaking everywhere I go. And so there was no question about whether my water broke or not. And I think that's kind of funny because I think about my friend who, she went to the hospital, said her water broke, and they made her sit down, and they did some kind of testing to make sure that that was the case. And of course it was. A mom knows when her water is broken. Like, there's so much water, it's crazy. So I didn't have any contractions at all. So that was unusual, no contractions. And I called the midwife, and I had to go in. I don't know, I stayed at home for quite a long time, and I just relaxed. But protocol for the hospitals are that a mom is induced within 24 hours of the water breaking, because they are concerned that there can be some kind of an infection that the baby can get. So I stayed at home and I relaxed, and we made plans for the children to be supervised. And once that was taken care of, I went to the hospital, and my midwife came, and what we tried to do was to bring labor on. I did a lot of walking at the hospital. So just like walking, I did too. Like I was walking up and down stairs, and I was like skipping stairs, and that was tiring. But the idea is to shift your body around so that the baby has movement and comes down lower and your body goes into labor. And I also tried using my breast pump because that can help stimulate hormones, but that didn't work for me. So labor wasn't coming, no contractions, and we were on the clock. So my water broke in the morning, and late at night we decided that we will go ahead and induce because I really didn't have another option. I had to, essentially. Also, one thing that I didn't mention, which is really important to me, was that at the end of a pregnancy, a mom will get tested for strep B. It's a bacteria that, if it's in the vaginal canal, that they will give mom antibiotics at the hospital to kill that because it can cause some harm to the baby. There's potential. So I tested positive for strep B, and once I realized I tested positive, I did look into what I can do to remedy that without antibiotics. And what I ended up doing was taking a garlic clove and putting some slices in it, and I took a piece of thread with a needle and I threaded it so there was a string hanging, and I inserted that vaginally. And garlic, and I left that in all night long. And so garlic is like antibacterial, antifungal. Garlic is really good to have around. And so I felt confident that I didn't need to worry about strep B being in the vaginal canal because I did that. And garlic is a really powerful antibiotic. So I talked to the midwife about that, and she said that, well, first of all, once I tested positive, I asked if I can get retested after I treat myself, and she said that they won't retest me a second time, so they were going to go with the result of me being positive no matter what. And so then I asked her if I can do, instead of antibiotics at the hospital, if they can do something else. And I honestly don't even remember what it was. But she said she is not familiar with that treatment instead of antibiotics. It's done in other countries. I just can't think of it. But that particular hospital, probably any hospital, I mean, it's more of a, well, here in America, we like using antibiotics when we're at a hospital, so they don't really, hospitals, they're not open more to different remedies. So that was too bad. And I was hoping that I wouldn't be in labor long at the hospital, because the longer I'm at the hospital before the baby comes, the more treatments of antibiotics they will give me. But I couldn't get contractions going, and so I ended up getting 3 treatments of antibiotics, which it's just, antibiotics are not good to have if you, well, what I should say is that it's really important for the baby to go through the vaginal canal and to pick up all the good bacteria in the vaginal canal. It goes in the baby's eyes and nose and mouth and ears, and that's what helps the baby get started having a healthy immune system. It's their jump start on life. So having the antibiotics, that negates that. Also, C-section is the same thing. So I couldn't do anything about that, though. I had to take the antibiotics because I was told that if I refused antibiotics, that CPS would probably be called on me. So, of course, I had to go along with protocol. And so when it was time to induce, first I said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and we'll induce, but I need to eat some food first. So Aaron left and brought some food to me, and I needed to take a little nap because it was like since morning and then it was nighttime. So the whole day I was up and thinking about labor and delivery, and I don't think I ate anything that day. So taking a nap and eating some food really helped me to feel like, okay, I'm ready for my contractions now to get through them. So they gave me Pitocin, and they started with small doses and continued to increase them over time. So it mimicked natural contractions rather than giving me large doses right in the beginning. So that was good. That was helpful. And my labor was fine. I got through my contractions fine. Then delivery went smoothly. My deliveries are almost always really quick, really fast. So that was that. And then I went to nurse him, my Sammy. And then we were having more problems. The nurse who came in said that he's making noises, and so she said she has to take him away from me. She has to check on him. And so he was more of like, I guess, like his noises were, I would call them like whistling noises. Like when he would breathe, sometimes you could hear a little bit of whistling. So I was nursing him. I had to stop nursing him, and he went on a little bed, and she checked his oxygen saturation levels, and they were healthy. So at that point, Aaron and I felt like he's fine, and I should be able to have my child back, my son back, and I should be able to continue to breastfeed him, which is what, I wanted to have our bonding time, and just let him relax. So the nurse, she wouldn't let me have the baby. She wouldn't let me have Sammy. and she wouldn't let Aaron or I touch our own child, which is really crazy when I think about it, the power that the hospitals have, that they could say, they can take my baby away from me and tell this child's dad that we can't even touch the child. So then they said they're going to draw blood to make sure that his oxygen levels were where they're supposed to be, even though she already checked him with the face mask and they were fine. So they took him to the NICU, and we insisted that we were going to follow and watch because we do not want our baby to be out of our sight. We just don't. We want to know everything that happens. Unfortunately, I think about, well, in particular, I know that there are instances where parents they'll refuse the hepatitis B vaccination at the hospital, and then they realize later that their baby was vaccinated when their baby was not in the same room as them. So we just feel like we need to keep an eye on the baby and really just know everything that's happening. So we went to the NICU, and this whole situation was really upsetting for us, but we were powerless. And so they pricked him, and they couldn't get a good prick, I guess, and they had to prick him again. So that was just made us really angry, the whole thing. After that, they did let me have him, and the results were that he was fine. So the whole thing was different from our other experiences, with the water breaking so much earlier than delivery, and having to get the antibiotics. So now, with the strep B that required antibiotics for me, I will, at the end of my pregnancies, I will put a garlic clove in vaginally, just as a precaution, just to make sure if there's any bad bacteria that it gets killed. There's other things you could do though, you can do insert yogurt intravaginally, or you can make a recipe that involves tea tree oil, and I think you dip it in, dip a tampon into it and then insert that for a night. So I do that just so that I don't have to worry. So another thing I wanted to mention was, because I got antibiotics, I wanted to rebuild the good bacteria in my body. So we eat yogurt, and so I was eating yogurt. That's something to do, but not just any yogurt. It has to be plain yogurt, otherwise there's sugar. Sugar is going to ruin your immune system, I mean, maybe it does some kind of good if you're still getting probiotics, but you're certainly negating the fact of the good bacteria you're getting from the yogurt if you're getting yogurt with sugar in it. So, and we also make sure that it's, well, that it's not really processed a lot. Ours, it's like, the one we get, it's like Bulgarian yogurt. It's a really good one. Anyways, I was just trying to go through some things you could do for whatever I experienced in this pregnancy. So, antibiotics, whether it's because you're pregnant or you're just sick, you want to try and build up your good bacteria. So yogurt is a way to do that, or if you can get access to any kind of fermented food like sauerkraut or fermented drinks like kombucha, that's really good too. Yeah, so you want to get, like, especially if you can get different kinds of probiotics in your system, that's good as well. So different things, mix it up. And it's good to do like prebiotics as well. Prebiotics helps your body to digest the probiotics. Prebiotics are onions and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. I really appreciated when I had to get induced that it was a gradual, they gradually gave me more and more Pitocin. And I think that may be, I want to say that I, at least at the hospital that I was at, I'm pretty sure that might be standard, that they start out with low doses and go to higher doses. But I don't know if that's the case with every hospital. I know that, at least in the past, it was not the case. But that was helpful. That's easier on the baby as well. It's less stressful for the baby. And that was something that we were concerned about. So, after he had the blood taken, then they gave him back to me. They gave me my own child back. And we didn't have any more problems. I just had to wait out my time before I could be released. But it did put me on edge. I kind of felt like if he makes any more noises, they might take more blood from him or give me a hard time. So I wasn't relaxed at all, that's for sure. So one thing that I have thought about with Samuel is, how does this experience affect him? People will say, oh, they can't remember, so it doesn't matter the pain that they go through. That's something that we were told with our next child that I will tell you about. That's not something that Aaron and I believe. One thing I think about in particular is there is a series called The Truth About Cancer, TTAC, and Ty Bollinger, he's the one who hosts this program, and he has a lot of doctors come on to talk about how to strengthen your immune system, what you can do to help prevent cancer, what you can do to even help cancer go away completely, rather than doing the typical protocol of cut, burn, poison. And one thing that one of the doctors mentioned is that if a child gets cancer and you don't know why, you should consider what kind of life experience have they had? Has anything traumatic happened to them? And so it does seem to be the case that we are affected in some way by our experiences, even if we do not remember those experiences. Like, how do they shape us in our personality and how we respond to life? So I look at Sam and I feel really grateful that he doesn't seem to be affected in a negative way. He is a really happy child, and he smiles a lot. He's cute. He's uh, he's more shy than I think the rest of the children are, and he just smiles a lot. It's really cute. But so I'm thankful, and he doesn't have any kind of health problems. I'm just thankful that he's thriving in every way that I can imagine. So Sammy, oh, and I forget sometimes to talk about my recovery because, like, I don't really need to recover. um, I have the baby and I don't feel any pain afterwards. I get a little bit of cramping when I nurse in the beginning. That's typical. But I figure the cramping that I feel from nursing doesn't even compare to the contractions that I've gone through before the baby, so I can just deal with the cramping. Yeah, and I feel totally fine after I have my babies. It amazes me. So, Sammy is Samuel David, and his name is special for a few reasons. First of all, his older siblings named him. I was told what his name was when they came to the hospital to visit him. So that's really special. He's the only child that has been named by siblings. Also, the meaning of Samuel David's name. Samuel means God has heard, and when we think about Samuel in the Bible, Samuel the prophet, he was named Samuel because his mom, Hannah, I think, Hannah, she cried out to God and asked for a son, and God gave her a son, and she named him Samuel. God has heard. So, and then David is my beloved, and I think about David in the Bible and how, like, clearly David in the Bible is, it says numerous times he is a person after God's own heart. So Samuel, God has heard, and David is my beloved. And Aaron, he was joking around, like, after we had our Sammy, that, we didn't really want any more children. And God's answer to us was giving us Sammy and saying, I've heard you, and here's my beloved. So we're just really thankful for him, and we're thankful for each of our children. And the society we live in, we never could have imagined having as many children as we have. It's not something it never even occurred to us to have so many children, but it's something that God made very clear to us, that he really wanted us to surrender all of our lives to him, including how many children we have, how many sons and daughters we have, and when they arrive. And we just are thankful that His ways are not our ways, and we're thankful that we were wise enough to obey. So we do appreciate each of them. And Sammy is actually going to have a birthday in a few days, and he is going to be 6 years old. So the time is flying by. And I have more stories that I have to share. Hopefully, I will do them very soon, much sooner than this one was. Shalom, friends.